Good morning, and welcome everyone to the Women's Coffee Club. We created this club to provide a safe space for women to share and inspire each other and to learn from a different presenter each week. And this morning, our presenter is Kasia and Ron Spence. With that, thank you so much, both of you. And Kasia, if you don't mind, would you tell us a little bit about your background and also Ron, so that we understand and why you decided to choose the topic spark, and then if you could explain what that is. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies. Right, Spark. Spark is something that changed my life 4 years ago, and I will get back to it in a moment. But I would like to start the conversation from informing my friend Ron that those ladies, they have no idea what we are doing here. So we are starting from the scratch, probably. So
Yeah, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself
about
also.
myself, okay. So I was born in communism. I was not able to speak up. I was not able to create much. I was not able to be different. And I was forced to learn Russian, which actually I refused to do so. And then, when I was 20 few years old, almost to 30, I moved to United States. And then I started learning that, life is not easy when you make such decisions. And through my life, I was deeply depressed and I had so many health issues. And 4 years ago, I'm going to make my story very short because, I would be able to talk about myself probably for way too long. Many of you already know me. We met with Renion Noble Goldman and with many of those people, we are, creating friendships and sharing knowledge and, impacting each other lives tremendously. And we are from all over the world. We have people here from Europe and from America, right? So coming back to 4 years ago, somebody introduced me to the technology that was created by somebody, and that somebody happened to be a doctor fascinated by quantum physics, and he's also an expert in so many other regions. But he has created this website access to quantum wellness technology. And when I was introduced to this, my friend told me a few things about this, and I really didn't understand, but it was kind of like, you have to try it. So I kind of tried it. And then the first day after the Spark and after that application was turned on, the same day, the pain that I was dealing for 2 years was gone. The first night, I slept for the first time in probably 10 years through the whole night. Within 2 weeks of using that technology, I started feeling something incredible. From my heart chakra, I literally felt happiness coming from inside out. And the feeling was so weird, so incredible, that I could not comprehend what was going on with me. I literally had to lift my shirt up and look at my naked chest to see if I'm not cracked open and something is not coming out from me. And that's the day when I discovered this special, this unique way of happiness. And since that, I'm really fascinated by this technology, and I don't think I will ever opt out from using it because it's absolutely amazing. And the very, very, very best part is the emotional part. And I love the effects, and I know I'm not revealing much yet, but to go to the scratch, I think we have to go back to understanding that religion, God, wind, temperature, everything that we are surrounded by is energy. Everything. There's nothing really in our environment that has no energy running the operation from the behind to whatever we can see or whatever we can feel. And to tell the truth, at the beginning it might be complicated if we do not believe, if we don't give the chance to this new knowledge that you might learn. Basically you have to be open to receive the knowledge, open to say like, all right, something interesting might work. And then here I'm not gonna be blah blah blahing any longer, because that's why I brought my friend Ron Spence. Ron Spence is I guess the best friend of the doctor who has created this technology that is using the spark scan. And Ron Spence is absolutely amazing. He has so many aces in his sleeves. He loves reading science. He understands science like nobody's business. And I invited Ron to tell you, a little bit more and a little bit better from English perspective about this technology. And I hope you will enjoy the ride, ladies.
Okay, I guess, am I on?
I guess the floor is yours, Ron.
Okay. Well, it's an honor to be with you, gals, today. And this is kind of a surprise to me. Kasia told me a little bit about it, but I didn't know, the group that I would be addressing other than you're all women. It was really funny when I came on board. One of you wondered why I was here, and just wanted to let you know I relate as a woman today, I guess. So in any event, I'm good friends with Dr. Cook. Dr. Cook is the doctor who invented the technology, or let's put it this way, he assembled it and made some improvements. I've been involved with the same technology. I've known Dr. Cook 20 years, and I've been involved with technology probably 10 years before that with another physicist friend. And Dr. Cook and I were both friends of this same physicist where we got our first exposure to it. And then Dr. Cook made improvements to it. And he asked me, my background, I've been retired a number of years, and my background is I used to be CEO of a major electronics company, Sanyo Electronics, and involved in science and doing things forever. And he asked me if I would help him on this project, and of course I did. And so technically I'm kind of like the company's trainer, and I do presentations on it. But I enjoy doing it because, like Kasia said, so many amazing things happen. And my first exposure to it, when I met Dr. Cook, I said, his name's Vaughn. I said, Vaughn, it has to work. I can't come out of retirement and help you do this if it doesn't work. And of course, he just chuckled. And I knew the technology worked, but I didn't know if Dr. Cook's version of it worked. You see, years ago, I had my oldest son had some health problems, and we just never could figure it out. We took him to doctors and everything; they just could not find out what the problem was. And my original involvement with this was this physicist. This physicist friend said, "Hey, Ron, bring your son in. I'll check him out." And within 5 minutes, we knew, using a similar technology, we knew exactly what was going on. He says, "Here's the deal. Your son's got a low-level infection. Here is the name of the particular microbe, the infection, what it is, out of like 40,000 possibilities." And so I took that information. Went to my medical doctor, and who I know well, and I said, "Would you do a test? Because this is my way of documenting to see if this is really true." So I said, "Would you do a lab test, see if my son has this particular infection?" And I remember the medical doctor friend said, "Ron, how do you know Why would you even suspect this? I said, oh, it's just a hunch. Well, he did it anyways. And 3 days later, he called me on the phone. It was in the evening. We were actually having a social gathering at our home. And he says, Ron, how in the hell did you know this? That's what he says, the words that came out of his mouth. And so I knew right then that the technology was great. We got him an antibiotic to kill that particular microbe, and he was good to go. Now, years later, when probably 10 years later or more, I got involved with Dr. Cook on another project, and then we lost touch for a few years. And then 5 years ago, we got back in touch on this project. So I helped him put this together and everything. And so let me give you a little bit of an overview why it's so cool. This is really amazing technology. I may make some biblical references as I describe this because, like Kasia said, there is a tie between who we really are and how we can maximize the benefit from this technology. Imagine yourself if you were to, everybody understands this. So I've got to take you from a place of understanding and take you to a new place that you may not know about and why this technology works and how you could possibly experience it yourself. When I first turned this on, it took, when I was working with Dr. Cook, it took us a year before we actually turned on a working model. And the first time I turned it on, like Kasia, I had an amazing experience. I mean, I was even doubtful, you see. And but I had an amazing experience. I suffered with the tinnitus for about 8 years, nonstop. Okay, because in my past I learned how to be a hypnotherapist. I was trained in that, and so I've learned how to just ignore that thing. And so it wasn't really bothering me, but it was a background noise. It was always there. And within 2 hours of me turning this on for the first time, it disappeared. Now, that was a wake-up call. I thought, wow, that is amazing. But what's even more amazing, about 6 months into this, Dr. Cook incorporated the part we call the Spark. It's called the Spark scan. And the Spark scan is an amazing technology because it engages your innate intelligence, who you are. I believe it's your spiritual essence, because our spiritual essence, innate intelligence, is tied to a human avatar body. That's experience. Who we really are is much greater than the physical bodies that we're in. So we're experiencing this. So it's attached to this body, and so it engages and interfaces with this technology to provide you a lot of great information. Okay, it's like when you do the Spark scan, it goes into a library of ingredients. It would be like walking into a health food store and seeing everything that's there and saying, I know there's stuff in here my body wants and needs, but I don't know what it is. The Spark scan engages your innate intelligence. It knows everything. You're so smart at that level. It goes through everything that's in a health food store within a minute, and it provides you feedback. Okay, Ron, of everything that's here, these thousands of items, this is what you need. You need this, 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 and this. And by the way, let's prioritize it, let you know which ones are the most important first. So it does that, and it creates your own personal formula just for you. Now, that's powerful because it takes the guesswork out of what it is we know, what we need. I know many medical doctors use this as a gauge to help them with patients and things because it's a lot smarter than they. Okay, so I did this, and I remember using this, and there wasn't any fireworks or anything like that. But I remember every day I felt a little bit better, and I felt better. I could sleep better at night. I had more energy during the day, and over a period of it was actually 3.5 months. 3.5 months, something quite amazing happened again. I had been diagnosed with asthma. I've had asthma for actually, I'm told my whole life, but I outgrew it. When I was a young man in my like 8, 9 or something like that, I had real bad asthma, and I outgrew it. And for my whole life, I didn't have problems with it until I turned in my 60s, which was some years ago. And and it came back, and of course I was diagnosed clinically that I had asthma, and it's got worse every year, and it got worse normally in the fall for some reason. Okay, so anyways, just to let you know, it just went away. I mean, all the symptoms I had for asthma. Now remember, I was clinically diagnosed with medical equipment, and doctors says, yeah, you have asthma, and here's what it is. Boom, boom, boom. All the symptoms that I've had for now, it's been almost 3 years now, it is totally gone, and I haven't had it anymore. And so I went back through the my personal info boost and the formulas that my innate intelligence created for me, because we store that. And I went back because as a scientist, I want to look at the things that what happened here. And I found something. I found that my innate intelligence selected an herb that I wasn't even aware of that existed. It's a Native American herb. It's called lomatium, and it scored very high on my scoring, my preference scores. And I saw that score very high, and then every time I did this, it went lower and lower and lower until eventually it fell off the radar. Well, when it fell off the radar, I didn't have any more symptoms. So I looked at that, and by the way, I did the research on the lomatium herb and found out its historical use was used for killing bacteria, fungus, and mold deep-seated in lung tissue. That's its historical use. And what an application there, because obviously that's what was going on. Well, at the end of the day, it identified in this library of things something that I needed, and I took that energetically. Now, let's jump to what that really means. Because see, this health food store I'm talking about is a virtual library of energetic information. And I have learned the dots that I've connected in explaining this technology to people has been a story that Dr. Cook told me in the beginning. He says, I remember, he said, I had this young lady come into his clinic. He was um, a physician, an alternative health physician in acupuncture, and he had people come to visit him. He says, I had this one lady, young lady, came into my clinic one day, and she had all the classic symptoms of scurvy. Now scurvy is a deficiency of vitamin C, and he says, first thing he did is he looked at her diet and if she was taking supplements, and found that she was eating vitamin C enriched foods. She was eating vitamin C supplements, but yet she still had all the symptoms of scurvy. So what he did, he prepared for her the early versions of what we have today, what we call an info boost. It's the energetic composition of what vitamin C is at its lowest common denominator of application, which is energy. And he gave her an energetic version of vitamin C. He said within days, her symptoms totally disappeared and solved the problem. Now, here is the dots that I connected from that first story that Dr. Cook told me on this. I says, in my research, and I've been doing research for over 45 years on everything, and I didn't tell you that background, but in any event, in the last 20 years, humans on the planet have been inundated by toxins. You can't get away from it unless you live way out in the boonies by yourself in the woods, and even then you still get some from the air. But at the end of the day, we are loaded with toxins, and all the tests show that. So a healthcare practitioner, when they're working with a new client, the first thing they do, historically, they used to say, well, let's take a look at the things we need to provide you for nutrition, because nutrients are everything to heal the body. Dr. Linus Pauling, who's a world-class doctor, Nobel Prize winner, it basically said in medicine, said that nutrients, a disease will always manifest if you're deficient in nutrient minerals. And so that was his take on everything. And so alternative doctors have always been at a place where let's make sure you have everything you need to be healthy and strong. And years ago, it used to be, well, let's just give you the foods and supplements that you need to do that. They've changed that whole stance today, because of toxins. Toxins are the first thing we got to get rid of. And the reason why we have to get rid of toxins, which we all have in our body, is because toxins block the assimilation of nutrients into our body, and which again manifests in physical illness and diseases. And so a good alternative health practitioner today has to do that first before they can provide the nutrients. Well, from the story that I just told you about what Dr. Cook did, I discovered that, wait a minute, all the research in the last 20 years is showing this phenomena. So I suspect what's going on here, somehow the energy information, which is provided in this technology, is getting through the standard pathways that phytochemicals actually get through to the cell, to the mitochondria. There's a pathway that addresses all that, and it's being blocked. The research showing that the cellular receptors on cells that actually assimilates the phytochemicals and the nutrients are being blocked by things, typically toxins. And most of the toxin, guess what it is? It's pharmaceutical drugs. That's the biggest toxins to block. And the other things that are happening, it messes up the microbiome. So your microbiome is 70% of your immune response. So it messes that up. So it's not providing in allowing the body to assimilate and even make certain vitamins and enzymes and things like that. So it's problematic. And yet, that's what appears to be happening. And all the research shows that. On the physical realm, I'm going to take you to another realm here in a minute. On the physical realm, that's what's going on. And so when Dr. Cook provided what I call the lowest common denominator of how we harvest information energy from our food, our physical world. We live in what we perceive as a physical world. I'm going to explain in a minute why that's really not true, but we live in a perceived physical world, and we harvest from the botanicals that we take into our body. At the end of the day, the lowest common denominator that we harvest is energy information. Okay, we harvest, for example, the way we were made and how we interface with Mother Nature. When I was a young man, I grew up on a farm in Western Pennsylvania, a dairy farm, and we had everything there. And of course, back in those days, everything was organic. And when I learned later, I remember as a young man, as a teenager, plowing with my John Deere up in the field, plowing the fields and getting ready for planting. And we'd put manure on the ground and everything. But I remember behind the plow, when I'd be plowing the fields, there'd be hundreds of birds and seagulls that were in there getting the worms and the bugs and everything from the fresh plowed ground. The ground was alive. When it's alive, it's full of critters, okay? Also microscopic critters, okay? And if you look at commercial farms today, you won't see, when they're plowing, you won't see birds behind it because everything in the soil is dead, because they spray on the ground things that herbicides and pesticides and insecticides that actually kill the big bugs, but they also kill the microscopic bugs. You see, Mother Nature created an ecosystem that puts these microbes in the ground. They're what we call probiotics. They're friendly bacteria, thousands of them, varieties. And what they do is they harvest the essence of life from Mother Earth, the minerals. They actually dissolve earth and stone and put it into the plants. The plant's roots go down and assimilate that, and the plants pick up the minerals, the vitamins, the nutrients, and the probiotics, so that when you eat organic stuff, you're getting that all into your gut. That's what replenishes your digestive system. 70% of your immune response comes from that. That's what keeps us healthy and strong. That whole ecosystem has been disrupted because of our modern farming practices and our modern packaging practices of what we do, okay, and packaging, having conventional food. That's why it's so important to go back to nature again. Now, let me take this to a whole new level. Our bodies, when we eat stuff, it goes into our body, it gets broken down, it goes to our bloodstream, gets to the cell, goes through these receptors, and there's even a mechanism to take it from inside the cell to the mitochondria to burn it, which is our fuel to give us energy. Now, at the and the dots that I've connected with this technology is that it goes through that same process with everything working properly, but when it gets to the mitochondria, there's energy information that is deposited. If that energy information is not deposited, we don't harvest the benefits of that. It's the lowest common denominator of receiving energy into our personal field. Now, let's have you take a look at what our physical reality is. Science, most people don't know this, but science has determined that we live in a hologram. Our whole reality, including everything that we see, touch, and feel, is not physical. When you break it down to, if you had a big enough microscope and you broke things down from the cellular to the molecular to the atomic to the subatomic material, you finally get to stuff, the building blocks of energy it's energy. There's no physical anything. You have, like, for example, protons and neutrons that are vibrating, hovering in the nucleus of something, and then you have these electrons that spin around it. And they all have their unique signatures. For example, vitamin C rosehip. If you were to look at that, it always has the right number of a certain number of protons and neutrons, different sizes, combinations, and the electrons that spin around it are different sizes, different numbers, and it goes in different speeds. That makes it unique to vitamin C rosehip. Okay, so energetically, that combination has its energy. It has certain information that's unique to that particular botanical, and we have receptors in our body that connect to those various energy signatures, so that when it comes into our body, it comes in and it deposits those phytochemicals energetically, and it comes in and replaces and balances our field. Now, if I was to look at you and I was to remove my human DNA, because our human DNA is a set of software that, like an operating system in a computer, and it interprets the energiness around us as physical constructs. And so energy is everything in our reality is energy. It makes sense of physical construct because our human DNA interprets the energiness as that. Every one of us in our bodies, when you break it down to its makeup, is flowing energy. Okay, our spirit essence and intelligence is attached to that particular entity, I call human avatar. Okay, and it's how we're made to experience in this matrix, if you will, an experience called human life. And we're placed in different settings to be tested and experience things. And that's what this is all about. But everything is energy. Okay, now, understanding and knowing that, Dr. Cook and other scientists that he piggybacked on have known this for years. And Dr. Cook's created I think, a better mousetrap, okay, that allows us to interface with who we really are energetically, allows us to engage our smart part of us, our innate intelligence and the spirit essence, to select out of a virtual health food store the missing ingredients, those energy signatures that we need to bring us back into balance to experience optimal health. And by the way, and what I do, and I do this every week, I have discovered something that I believe the technology works for some people really well and other people not as well. So I'm perplexed as to why that's the case. And I've come to the conclusion, the reason why it is the case, there's a couple of things, but it's because of our lifestyles. If we're doing bad things in our lifestyles every day, contributing to more badness for our health that we're unaware of, it's hard to make positive movement using a technology that will allow us to do that if we're continually every day beating it down because of what we do every day, our lifestyle. So I teach people lifestyle changes of how they can make those positive changes to make the technology work significantly better. And that's what I do. And so, so what I wanted to share with you is the fact that the technology is an amazing technology. It allows you to interface with it. And one of the things that it does, that imagine again, you have this health food store, and for a monthly fee, you're allowed to use anything you want in that health food store as much as you want. Okay, and this health food store is really cool because it has this really smart clerk that works there. It knows everything that you need personally for you. Okay, and that's what the Spark Scan does. It identifies exactly your unique things that you need. Okay, now one of the other things that's really that I need to share with you because it affects everybody so much. We are swimming in a sea of toxic radiation, and by the way, this toxic radiation impacts our immune system. It harms our cells. It creates viruses, and it's called electromagnetics. Yeah, Wi-Fi, your 5G, your 4G, your cell phones, your cell towers, your microwave, all these things create electromagnetic fields, and all the science shows that it's damaging human health. They keep this from us because I've come to the conclusion that big business is all about making money, could care less about your health. So we have to understand and know that, including our government. Okay. Now, Dr. Cook has created another category in here he calls imponderables. Imponderables are, I think he has like 24 different electromagnetic exposures that we're all exposed to. And our innate intelligence goes in and identifies the one that affects you. Let me give you an example of what I learned firsthand on this when doing this. So, as we know, we've all moved out of, the last couple, 2-3 years, we've all been exposed to this big boogeyman called the pandemic thing. That's a whole nother story. But at the end of the day, I was one of those lucky guys that got that so-called virus. Okay. I remember, I know I never got shot with the jab or anything like that, but I remember getting this, and I was sick for a couple of weeks. Now it was a flu like I'd never seen before. I could not, for some reason, after 2 weeks, I could not get rid of this guy. It was just hanging on and hanging on and hanging on. I just didn't feel good. In the evenings, it got worse. And so what I did, I said, I need some additional help here. I need to go and engage my innate intelligence, the smart part of me, to find out what I have in the library, in our health food library, energetically, to see if I can undo this thing. Well, about 2 weeks before that, I came across some research from some scientists, I think it was in France, and they showed the connection between electromagnetics and this so-called bug, that it made it significantly worse. And they explained, I'm not going to go into details, but explained why and how that happens. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. So I turned on the Spark Scan. And here's what happened. And by the way, in this study, it explained that what this virus does, it also does not allow your body to get adequate oxygen, because what it does to the red blood cells. Okay, so it showed in the study about what electromagnetics does, 5G in particular, and a particular hertz, and it removes oxygen, and that's what makes you really ill. So I turned on my Spark Scan. I wanted to get some extra help, and the first two items that came up on it, number one was 5G, and I'll show you what that means in a minute. The next one that came up was oxygen. It's meaning that, first of all, I needed oxygen. Number two, the 5G is an imponderable. When you do an imponderable, it doesn't mean it's giving you more of the same. It means it blocks it. It was designed with the intent to block that electromagnetics from harming my energy field. And the oxygen was there to allow oxygen to more flow through my body. I turned this on. This was in the evening. I turned my new formula on the next day. Now, remember, I was sick for 2 weeks, never making any progress. I think, what's going on here? Because I know what to do and how to heal the body, and I wasn't making progress. The next morning, I woke up after I turned it on. It was gone. After 2 weeks, just overnight, it was just gone. I woke up feeling refreshed. I felt normal, no problems. And so I share this with you because energetically, we reach the lowest common denominator of who we are. We live in a perceived physical world with phytochemicals and all these things and how that all works. But at the end of the day, those things are made up of energy containing information, and that's what we're all about here. So in any event, I don't want to, I want to turn some time back to you guys because I suspect you have a lot of questions. But before I do that, just as a recap, one of the other things, by the way, the same thing happens with imponderables as, for example, molds. One of the mysterious things that people have all the time is these illnesses, and medical doctors can't, you know, first of all, you have to understand that Western medicine is the third leading cause of death. So that's, you know, I don't speak highly of that. So, but at the end of the day, molds are another thing like imponderables. If you have it, it's in your body, it's creating all these problems. You don't even know if you have it. This technology, through your innate intelligence, will identify and stop it, just like it does with the electromagnetics. So it doesn't harm you. It's an amazing technology. What the other last thing I wanted to share with you is that Kasia mentioned about emotions. Okay. Now, and this is my final comments before I turn time back over to you. In my studies over the last 45 years, I have found many people who were had disease in their body. The medical profession had given up on them. They were on their way out, and they found different places they could go around the world to heal their body. Some of these were like in Malaysia and such. They went over there, and these physicians healed them. Okay, now they healed them with the basic things of, you know, getting nutrition in the body, getting toxins out of the body, all those kind of things, get them on a good diet, and they would heal their bodies. But they would come back into this life here in the United States, and after X number of months, it's the disease would start coming back. And they trace this down to another cause of illness and disease, and it may be the biggest, and that is the way we think. I call it stinking thinking, okay? And if we negatively think things all the time, it affects our body and it drains it, and it interferes with the proper working of energy movement. And so now I knew this really well because in my training years ago as the hypnotherapist, that wasn't my field at all. I was in technology, but I did it because just for fun. I wanted to learn all this stuff, and I learned something that you could go into someone's mind, if you will, identify things that are there that are problematic, and remove it and replace it with something good. What I learned when I started studying quantum physics, which was later after this, it made sense to me what was going on, because I marveled at how many people, when they found the right hypnotherapist, could get rid of that bad stuff and their life would change. It would change for their health. It would change for what they attracted in their life. And I discovered how quantum physics works. And because I marveled how effective that was. And I discovered, and here's the dots that I've created. Now, when I first discovered this, I researched others to see if there was other scientists out there who have come across and made these same dots, and I couldn't find it. Until about 5 years ago, I met actually 3 different doctors that came across that came to the same conclusion I did. And here's what it is: that our intelligence is what we are. We're intelligence. And I came to the conclusion that the quantum world is a place that had to be made by God, and it has a set of laws. And in this quantum space, there's a set of laws that have to obey intelligent input. So if you emote a particular emotion, a certain thing, it's actually, as an intelligent, it gets sent to that field. And the way reality works is those laws were set up to create that reality for you. So if you are a fearful person, and that, let's say something happened in your past that created fear, and you are emoting fear, even at the subconscious level, the quantum world looks at that with its set of laws and says, oh, this person loves fear. Let's give them more of the same, you see? And so you'll have all of these experiences that create more of the fear. And I learned from this that if we could remove that fear, if we could substitute in it for love, we still okay there?
Yeah.
Okay, so in any event, what happened is I came to the conclusion that our thoughts are important, and we have to find a way to get rid of the junk that we've been programmed with. Now, I've identified 6 different ways of how we get programmed in our subconscious that we need to remove. 3 of it's in this life, and 3's in past life stuff, and how we incorporate and inherit DNA from our parents and grandparents and so on and so forth, that it continue this process. Now, what Dr. Cook's done is he's found a way to do the same thing using, he calls it the CERT program, that allows us to, in a very convenient way, address these issues, identify them, and remove them over a period of time. Because I believe when you take a look at the things that he's done emotionally and with the energetic information from the technology, it's the 1-2 punch. It really helps so many people. What I do to enhance it, make it better, is to teach people lifestyle changes, because when you make the right changes that way, things really work well. So I'm good. And by the way, we have it for pets. I have a little dog. He's sleeping right now. He's 17 years old, just turned 17 years old. Okay. His sister, who's my brother had, died over 4 years ago. Okay. Who does not have the technology. I've taken this little dog from a stroke. We thought we were going to have to, put him down. And I turned this technology on him, totally, within 3 days, remarkably recovered back to his normal self. And this little guy just, the only thing I don't like about him, he barks all the time. So I threatened my wife and say that, I'm going to pull the plug on him. So, but in any event, he's an amazing little dog, and it's fun because we can provide the same things to animals as we can with humans. And the technology is amazing that way. So I'm going to turn the time back over to you guys, because you're probably going to have some questions, and go from there.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ron. That's really interesting. Anyone has any question for Ron regarding the technology? If you have any element or something that you have a question about.
So really, first of all, I would like to say, because to understand the technology and how it works from the practical perspective, I would have to run, another meeting for people that are actually interested. Because there's kind of a lot of details at the beginning. It seems to be like hard, complicated, and out of this world. But maybe if you have questions, I would say just about the energy itself, and related to science and what Dr. Cook has created, maybe as from the idea of the
Okay, so for detailed information, you'll create another session to answer. But right now, we're just answering a few questions for the time that we have left. Sandra, go ahead.
Thank you. This is absolutely amazing. I have a natural doctor in Toronto that I go to. I guess I've been going to him for 11, 12 years, a GP. He was an obstetrician, and he's switched over to natural years ago. So he's going to be all over this. Is this a software that we buy, or is it an online thing that we could take a membership, and how does it work that way?
Well, it's kind of like an app. We call it a web app. You install on your phone and or your computer. I like it on my computer because it's a bigger screen. You can demonstrate and see a lot more. And people of our age, we like the bigger things. Okay, so in any event, and so what you do is, here's one of the confusions. People think, well, what happens when we turn it on? If your computer's turned off, is I still getting it? Does it work? It works on the quantum entanglement principles. Your phone or your laptop device, that think of it as the remote control to your TV. You can turn it on, you can turn it off, and you can make selections. Okay. Once you do that and turn it on, it goes regardless. If you have a phone or a laptop, it could be on the other side of the world and it still works. Okay. And it works as long as for the period of time you set it for it to work. And so there's instructions of how to do all that. But it's the ability to communicate with the quantum world and engaging your innate intelligence to provide a solution for you.
Right. So it's a membership or a purchase, or
It is. It is. It's just a monthly fee. You can cancel at any time, and it's $99. Okay, to do that, and there's some other applications. For example, the emotional component costs a little bit more, or if you want to do it for your pet, costs a little bit more. But the standard one for everybody that the 90% of people use are is the standard program, the $99 subscription.
Yeah. So when I'm sorry, I shouldn't be asking all these questions, but I have a lot of supplements that because I don't eat properly. So I'm thinking $99 and I know what ones I'm supposed to be using.
Exactly.
Out in the wash.
Good. Excellent question. Excellent question. I have closets full of supplements and things because I've been doing this for years, and essential oils and herbs and probiotics. Some of the stuff lasts, other stuff doesn't. And so I discovered when you do this, you don't need as much of those, okay? Because it's providing you energetically what you need, and making what you are taking more efficient. You can actually do away with supplements if you eat the right kind of food. We teach lifestyle along with taking the technology. You're getting everything you need. But and sometimes I'll if it's saying that I need something and I actually have it, I'll take both. I'll take the supplement and the energy information, and I may get better results that way. We still haven't established that, but I can tell you that I've taken people who are deficient in something, and they're taking it, the physical thing, and they're still not getting the benefit until I turn on the energy, and that tells me that's toxins being blocked. Okay. The other thing, for example, in my case, when I had asthma, there's no way I was taking this herb called limatium. I didn't know what it was. Okay. And yet when I got the energy, it seemed to solve. It was the missing link for me, what caused me to get rid of my asthma. That's the dots I connected, because all the preference scores in there showed that.
I already do a lot of the emotional work through a program that I coach in. And so I totally get it. And all of the energy work I'm totally in, and the hologram, I really enjoyed hearing it in that wording, because that's what I believe. So it's no leap. And I think you'll find most of us on this site, it's no big leap. We're already there. So it's going to be interesting when Kasia pulls us together and we get to see this site.
One of the things I want to mention to you, the other day I was looking at another scientist out there and his work in this field, okay? And here's what he said. I actually wrote it down because I was so impressed by it. He said, imagination and faith equals instant manifestation. Okay, now, remember back in the day when Jesus roamed the earth, okay? He said to his disciples, he says, these things ye see me do, ye shall do, and much greater. He was trying to teach us, we have the ability to do these things. Let me teach you how to do this. So, and what he said about the faith of a mustard seed. If you just had the faith of a mustard seed, you could move mountains. Okay. And so I've been studying, one of my fun things to do is study people who've had spontaneous remission experiences. You know, one day they got days to live, someone gives them something, and the next day they wake up and their disease is gone. Okay. Well, I believe and I've read all these experiences, I believe that's what's taking place here, is that they focused on, they imagined, and they had faith of them being healthy, and it happened. And if we learn how to do that, now this technology is like training wheels. Yeah, it allows us to achieve those kind of goals easier using the technology than by not doing it. Eventually, we'll all be able to do this, just like Jesus said, but this is a technology of training wheels that helps us achieve and get there faster. That's what I believe.
So your technology and your healthy lifestyle are combined exactly in the same.
You got it. When you do both of those together, you got a winner.
And that's what's in your app.
That's correct.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
You still have to be a good girl, Sandra.
Well, no, I refuse that part. My bad girl is my energy.
I see Sue wanting to say something. Go ahead, Sue.
Oh, no, I'm just all those questions were great. All the ones I had in my mind, Sandra, so thank you. But also just wanted to say, as someone who probably has energy excessive disorder, I'm super excited to figure out more, because I want more energy. I love going nonstop.
Well, you know something. Let me share with you, since you mentioned that, a real fast experience. So I'm in a meet. This happened probably 3 years ago. I'm in a meeting with Dr. Cook. We're sitting around a table, and we had the executive team there and everything, and we had a lot to cover that day. And so the president of the company says, "Okay, everybody get out their apps. We're going to turn on energy and focus, because we have a lot of stuff we need to get through here." And that was my first experience with these two things, energy and focus. Well, I turned it on, and you know something, that day was the most amazing day, having natural, good, healthy energy and feeling great. I just felt so alive and healthy. Nothing caffeine related or anything. You just felt great. Okay. Well, the problem is that evening when I went to bed, I normally go to bed between 11 and 12 at night. Okay. To go to sleep. I could not go to sleep. I was like up until 3 and 4 in the morning thinking, what is going on here? And then it just dawned on me, it's got to be from that. So I turned those off, of course, went to sleep. I learned from that experience that there are certain things that you turn on, you have to turn off for some people, or I could not go to sleep. And so what Dr. Cook created as a result of that experience, he put it on those. There's certain things. There's sleep, there's energy and focus, those three things. You have to be able to run during their respective hours, okay? And so he put it on a time sequence so you can set the times you want it to run and turn off, and it made it easier. So the technology is amazing when you learn how to use it properly.
There's one more great benefit and an option with that technology, that we can set up prosperity and we don't ever have to turn it off.
Okay, now, okay, I do have to comment on that, okay? You have to understand, everything is energetic, and the way we think and emote, see, we want to, the way the world works, and these come from a lot of great scientists that I've studied for years. The way we think, if we can imprint in our subconscious, okay, certain things like some prosperity. Prosperity means the abundance and prosperity, you attract to that. Once you have that in there and it's set, and the technology helps accomplish that, it sends those instructions to the quantum field where those laws exist, and the laws say, oh, this person is experiencing abundance and prosperity, we better make sure that happens. So it creates a hologram coming your way with abundance and prosperity in it. Okay, so it's not just it's to improve your quality of life. It's not just improving your health, although many people come here because that. It does so much more than that. It can help you have loving relationships that you didn't have before. It does all, everything is energetic, so we can create the exact reality that we want and deserve using the technology.
Thank you so much, Ron. Thank you so much.
We only have a few more minutes left, and I know several of you have other meetings to go to. So is there any last minute question, anyone? Otherwise, I was going to ask Kasia, if you're going to create a different session, just post it in the Women's Coffee Club so that these ladies could get the invitation. Kasia, I'm going to turn it back to you to close this out, since we have another meeting coming up.
So first of all, thank you so much, Ron, for joining. I'm so glad that you have so much passion and so much wisdom about this technology that you can talk for 24 hours straight. And, I'm fascinated by that. And I hope that we were able to, maybe plant the seed in some of those beautiful minds here. And then I feel like Sandra probably might be the first one to jump and try it. We'll see how it goes. I'm really good with the technical aspects of how to use it, and I can present everything, how and where to find. So you are in good hands between me and Ron, and also Ron is running presentations, international presentations on Wednesdays that I can invite you to. So I guess let's close it up and let's enjoy the day and talk later.
Thank you. Thank you, Kasia.
Hey guys, you guys have a good day.
Yeah, Ron, thank you so much for presenting for the Women's Coffee Club, although at first I thought, why is Ron here? But anyway, I will announce the next week's presentation, but other than that, thank you so much, Kasia and Ron, and have a great week, and we'll see you
Nice
next
meeting
week.
you guys. You bet. Thanks.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.